Welcome, 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 everyone, to Signals from the Ashes. This is the Phoenix firm joining you again, and happy to have you on board and listening to our podcast. I'm Ben, your AI and process improvement guy, and with me is Kendall.
Morning, everyone. Ben, great to be with you again.
Yeah, always, Kendall. Thank you so much. It's always great. I love our discussions, so critical. And today is an interesting one, isn't it? As we've got the title for this one, which is Canada, Wake Up. Don't let AI pass you by. And I think just an absolutely critical discussion, Kendall, as we're having with so many of our clients. But how would you describe what the challenge that we're seeing is?
Yeah, thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure as well. And you're absolutely right. It is on top of mind for many of our customers. It is almost was imperable. You and I were speaking about it before that we bring this to our audience as something that's super important. If they may not know, the world's changing. It's changing fast, right, Ben. And I think that it's on top of the minds of many decision makers. So yeah, let's dive right into it. I think it's gonna be a fun time.
Absolutely. It's already a fun time. Obviously, what we're seeing is, in particular, the challenges that I think are part of perhaps the cultural background that we have in Canada to really analyze a lot of what we see going on in so many other places, and determining for ourselves, well, what needs to be adjusted before we were to implement here in Canada. And we're I wouldn't say the last to come to the table, but close to it. And one of the things that really was of concern to me and was highlighted was the the number of countries that are adopting AI and implementing AI in particular, and where does Canada fit in all of that? And it's unfortunately very far down the list. There are several other countries that are much, much closer to the top, and Canada, unfortunately, barely falls into the top 20. And that's a real concern because, again, as it progresses, where will Canada be on the global stage? And when we speak to the ma and pa shops in various parts of Canada that are our neighbors, um, they're today they may not be so concerned about some of these pieces,
Yeah.
but their business is no longer just going to come from across the street. It's going to come from other parts of the world, and be made so much easier for them to order, shop, get the advice that they need, counsel, et cetera, and at much cheaper rates than what they are paying today. And so, if we are not on board with all of that, then it really does adjust, where we will be. And I've heard it said many, many times, you will not be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by someone who is using AI.
Bang on. Yeah.
And that's why I think it's just so critical that we have this conversation.
Ben, I think you've nailed exactly the concern. And I'll also say there's precedence here. But let's take a step back. I think when we think about everything that you've said in regards to the concerns, and you and I have the luxury of speaking, as I said before, with business leaders, government officials, and they are well aware of this issue. We have to think about why this is an issue. And you and I have both been in boardrooms and have spoken to enough tables to hear, well, Canadians take their time to make decisions. That's just our culture. Or they've heard that there's not enough investment from investors in Canada that take the SMB and the general business seriously, taken to the next level. Or, you and I, we have enough brain I hear to remember the saying, if it's a good Canadian business, it's about to get bought over and we're going to, we're becoming Americanized. Well, the consequence of this of that attitude, Ben, is now we have been conditioned to follow others and take their lead in the world on the position of technology, including AI. And I think that has been consequential. Canada, wake up. We can no longer uh, have that attitude that of being a follower. For every day that passes, the technology alone itself, um, it the percentages that we lose on momentum, it just increases.
Yeah.
And I'll add to this point as well. Um, the world's changing around us, Ben, right? We need to talk about the geopolitical impacts of not only where our future customers may be, but also, like you said, where the solutions may come from. And at some point, we may be shut out as to a solution, and that's the concern.
Yeah, no, exactly. And something else that recently hit the news too, which I thought was extraordinary, um, was the expansion of BYD as a electric automotive maker, and that they actually beat out Tesla in their annual sales figures and volume. And when we look at BYD, and perhaps if we're from Canada, then we say, sorry, who? Because we don't see those cars on the roads. They're not actually in Canada.
Not yet. Mhm.
Not yet, right? And so it's like, well, but yet they are outselling now Tesla. And what it actually speaks to is the demand that's out there, the producers that are available now that are not necessarily at the corner, that are available all over in and available in other countries. And yet, if that's where the um, results are coming from, then again, the question is, how do we get on the bus so that we're aware of what else is being produced from where, and what is that doing as far as the demand is concerned? Because that could have a very significant impact, not only on revenue, but on the culture as well for the country.
Yeah. Once again, geopolitical pressures, but I'll add this times are mismanaged of, yeah, I would say homegrown issues,
Mhm.
affordability, availability, and owning our own manufacturing industry have created opportunities for companies like BYD and others to have a product that seems attractive. And it's not just price, Ben.
Right.
It is advancement. And I think you nailed it when you said they're ahead of us in many ways. I'll add we still have some corners that we are certainly dominating here in Canada and many in the US from an auto perspective. It's not clear cut. But if we think back 5 years ago, to your point, you know, they were nowhere on the map, BYD, and Tesla was the end all be all. How funny, how funny a year, um, can make in terms of difference from simple political changes and and other interested parties making decisions on our behalf. And that's really what I want to talk about. Are we really, Ben, if we can be honest, Canada, wake up. Are we in charge of our own industries anymore?
Yeah.
Right. And I love that you and I have so many customers to speak to, and there's so much business. Um, but quite frankly, a lot of it is coming from many Canadian, but many not. And I'd love to see that there is that same urgency from Canadian manufacturers, auto sector, those looking at AI, because just like BYD, we anticipate is that there's going to be more options from the other corners of the earth that will come in cheaper. And with affordability not only impacting individuals in Canada, but businesses, you got to ask yourselves what will be, part of their business plan moving forward. I hope it's to buy Canadian. I hope.
Yeah, no. And you know what? Kendall, this is a role that I actually really enjoy, to be able to advise organizations as a fractional CAIO, the chief AI officer, to sit at the table and be of such support to a specific organization, and how the AI tools can help them be better, and automate also some of the pieces that would help them, whether that's reduce cost, increase revenue, make them more competitive, etc. Um, the challenge, of course, with any organization is finding the time to do all of that and stay on top of what else is out there. And the challenge, I would say, certainly with AI, is that you go a week and you're already behind
Yeah.
any leader that's out there trying to stay up to date on what's going on. The challenge really is, how do I run my day to day? And so this is why I find such value in being able to fill that role for them, at a fraction of the cost, frankly, but to advise where it meets their needs in particular. Because again, a week goes by, and yeah, there's a whole new list of tools that are available, updates to models, et cetera, et cetera. But then how does that apply to your business in particular and what you do? Obviously, each of us can only have so many clients that we can speak to, because you have to be in the weeds for their organization. But it comes as a real value to them, because as they're looking to implement, then the question is always, all right, well, where does AI fit in? Or, based on my own research, our research is really about, okay, this is where it could fit into what you want to do. Great, you're doing all this. Let's look at how we can, use what's available today. And by the way, this and this and this are now available. Um, the challenge, though, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, that I'm seeing is investment at the end of the day. It,
No doubt.
it's just not there, because the investment may be there to have those discussions, but to actually implement, the appetite isn't there yet to actually put it into the quarterly expenses to make sure that it is making an adjustment to the organization.
You're absolutely right. And I'll tell you this, I think if we had to rewrite that title, I actually would call it the CCAIO officer, Chief Compete Chair AI officer. And here's why. You want to stay competitive, you got to adapt to a changing world. That's ML, that's AI. There's
Yeah.
just there's no two ways about it. And so I think, again, Canada, wake up. We cannot be naive that this is not part of our future. We cannot be naive to that there are competing organizations and different parts of the world that want our business, and we cannot be naive that our partners that exist today will be the same partners that exist tomorrow in the same way.
Yeah.
And so it almost takes a company like the Phoenix firm, or anyone like the Phoenix firm, or any other organization, consulting firm, to have that oversight to make sure that there's adoption, compliance, um, the right direction is still being applied when it comes to specifically AI and many other processes,
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. And I think it's so important to have this, um, at least planning in place today, so that you don't fall behind the weeks, the months, the years, because it's consequential. And we see that. And if we want to take it two steps further, that's also applies when it comes to managing how we interact with government, how we interact as a whole, with the rest of the country, right? Um, being in your own box no longer works, and doing business in your own box no longer works. You need to have an officer at the table that can speak to, how other things are being done other places, and also how to govern and make sure that you're on the right track when it comes to certain technology. It's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and a very simple thing that I say it's simple, it's not really, but, it is, in certain aspects that I'm very proud of being able to help organizations with is, what do I actually say this as? Amazonifying their sales, to because, allowing the broader audience to see what's available, at the right price
Yeah.
and less and less people are going to malls or shops today, to see what's available and what might, they need, and instead they're going online. And then that translates into shopping online and having it simply delivered to your front door as opposed to even driving out to get it. And then, if it doesn't meet my needs to be able to ship back, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and helping organizations to actually do that, I think has been a real win, and such a big support that we have as an organization for so many of our clients because it really does open it up to them. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily AI-ifying. When it comes to reporting and getting the information of what's needed, competition, et cetera, yes, that, we benefit from having information thanks to AI. But even just being able to expand the boundaries of their sales environment is huge. And being able to say, yes, your market is actually a lot bigger because I think the organizations, it's not just about being, the competition from others that are coming to you from other parts of the world now, but how do you reach out to other parts of the world?
Absolutely.
Like I remember years ago, in one organization that I was with, and the pride of securing a contract with one of Canada's major enterprises, and this is going to be great. It's going to get our name out there, and look at the volume of people that are so used to hearing this name, and they're going to relate to it immediately all here in Canada. Uh, oh, okay, and it's gonna reach out to 20 million people. That sounds great. But when you compare that to the population of United States,
Mhm.
China, and, the list goes on and on, so many other countries in Latin America, Mexico, Colombia, Peru, it's a very small drop in the bucket, 20 million. And if you can secure then, a contract with another enterprise that has literally hundreds of millions in their scope, that makes a big, big difference. And, so if you can actually sell your product to a much larger audience, well, then that could make a really big difference on your entire revenue as a whole, right? So they're thinking very differently.
I think you've nailed it, and I'd like for us to take a look at it a different way, right? When we used to buy, when you and I were younger, up until this point, we would go to the mall, maybe go to certain outlets, certainly see a Hudson Bay company that no longer exists,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that was very central to a shopping experience one upon a time. In today's world, it's about visibility and it's a numbers game, really. And I, to your point, you just want to be visible and be where your customers are at, and make sure you have a shot at least gaining more business. And so the right tools, the right technology, meeting the right customers, and timing is really where it's about. And that's a whole different type of, in my opinion, doing business, a way of doing business. And so, again, that takes a lot of investment, from a company standpoint, takes a lot of investment from a country standpoint to not only grant more access, uh, but making sure that our producers, our manufacturers, right, have a shot on being such a platform. And it'd also be nice, Ben, if we can have our own platform as well,
yeah.
right? And so, you know, we, in all tongue in cheek, we're calling out Canadians, so to speak. But in all seriousness, as the world is vastly changing, and I think everyone watching this can feel that, so will do the way we do business will change. So will the way we conduct ourselves will change. And I think we need to be conscious of that and make sure that we give ourselves a shot and not fall behind. And that really means the right strategies. And that really does mean working with the right people.
No, 1,000%, Kendall, exactly. And it's not enough to say, "Well, I'm using ChatGPT in my day-to-day," or, "I now have a Copilot." Great. But it really is getting down into your workflows, right? Getting deep into the weeds of your organization and seeing, "Okay, how can we make things smoother, better, faster? How can I turn my employees' greatest asset that I have today into superhumans?" And that's really, what we can help with. And I think AI as a whole does help with, and being able to advise on all of these pieces and help them through it. I think the underlying message here is Canada, please.
Wake up.
More to come on that, and to all of you who've tuned in to our podcast, thank you so much for this one today. Kendall, always a joy, and we'll chat again soon.
Well, pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.